And now, our feature presentation.
To infinity and beyond!
My name's Bond. James Bond.
That'll do, Pig.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Show you with the box. Who's in the box?
Ew! Get off of me! Ugh, that's it.
A lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors.
Houston, we have a problem.
It takes so long for it to go from that opening screen to this screen, and it makes me mad every time it does it. Welcome into 52/1995, your live movie conversation podcast where we dive deep into the movies of 1995. I'm your host, Cody. I'm thrilled to be joined this week by my fantastic co-host, Alyssa. Welcome in, Alyssa.
Thank you very much.
If you are tuning in for the very first time, we're so glad that you're here. Every week, 52 of them to be exact, we explore a different film from the year 1995. It's the 30-year anniversary of them, so that's why we do this. They could be the silliest movie of all time. They could be the most serious movie of all time. But a lot of times we find things that, I don't know, that we missed out on. That's kind of why I like to do this, is because it forces me to watch movies, some that I, love for nostalgia reasons, and then others that I've probably just never thought to watch before. So that's why we do this. And what else do? We will talk about them. We will discuss them in detail. We will chat and give our feelings and opinions on those things. That's basically what we do here. And we usually do this on a monthly theme basis, and this month's theme is coming of age, meaning that all of the movies that we're talking about are movies about growing up, getting older, maybe perhaps growth, from learning from a teacher. I think we'll get into some of that next week. So we'll see a little bit of that. But this week's movie is called Now and Then. Now, before we jump into that, let's talk to Alyssa real quick and just say, hey, again.
Hey.
And, was this your first time watching Now and Then?
It was. I had never heard of this movie, though it is a movie that you would think, and definitely is right up my alley, of just a movie about girls in the 90s. But no, I never heard of this movie, let alone seen it. So this was a first. This was a first for me.
Yeah. I think a lot of times with we're doing 95, and a lot of those kinds of movies, I feel like you're 5 years, but you are 5 years behind, I would say, like with movies. Not saying that you could not possibly watch movies from this time, but like a movie like this, you would have missed out on just because of your age and how young you were. And it wasn't necessarily like the most, prevalent movie of all time. It just kind of hit a time period for specific people. This movie hit for me. I'm not a girl. I am from the 90s, or was at least somewhat of close to their age in the 90s, but this one hit for me. So,
have you seen this before?
Oh yeah, I love this movie.
Oh, okay.
I have seen this movie before. I really did enjoy this movie, and remembered things fondly as these as scenes kept happening in this movie. Now, I don't want to hear any of your pairings right now. But what are some other movies that you would consider maybe like a slumber party watch? Because that's what this gives me. Is like summer nights, you're spending the night with your friends over at your friend's house. This is the type of movie that I imagine it kind of blew up during this time. And they're cited, like there are some articles about this was like cult status, slumber party, cult status kind of movie. So any other movies that you would consider kind of a part of that?
Yeah, I think mine go into the late 90s, early 2000s. Like I don't think of Slumber Party because I was born in 92. So some of these movies, I would have been too young to be having sleepovers. When I think of a slumber party movie, I think of The Princess Diaries. I also think of the movie Sleepover, which
I was thinking you would say that one.
that movie, I have such a, I mean, it's a horrible movie. It is a horrible movie, and a senior dates an eighth grader, and it's very strange. But I very distinctly remember being in the theater with my little sister and two of my best friends and one of their moms, and we were the only people in the theater. So we were like talking and we were like reacting in a way that you would if you were sitting on the couch, but in a theater setting. We were like running around the theater because we were like, we were kids. That is like one of my fondest like movie theater memories is that movie Sleepover. So that's those. What's the other one that came to mind? Oh, Cinderella Story with Hilary Duff. That's a big one. That era of movie is what I would consider a sleepover movie. None of those are my pairings.
Yeah, that's good.
But those are the ones that come to mind for me.
Yeah. Would you even consider this to be a slumber party movie? Would you have like, let's put a list
it's a little too, I'm not saying it's serious. It's a serious movie, but like when I think of a sleepover movie, I want it to be lighthearted, maybe a little bit of romance, like a cutesy movie, a rom-com. I also remember like watching Not Another Teen Movie at a slumber party, and there's like that version of a slumber party movie is that you find something that your friend's older brother has that you should absolutely not be watching. But I mean, it's definitely cute. I would definitely want to watch it with my girlfriends. And there is a movie pairing that I do have that I think is insanely similar to this movie that I would watch that one at a sleepover. I wouldn't watch this one at a sleepover.
You're right. This is a more serious take on coming of age. It's set during a specific time. We'll probably talk about that as well. I think of, and none of these are my pairings, and I don't think that you'll step on any of them, but this kind of gives me a more lighthearted version of a movie like Beaches or a movie like Steel Magnolias, which are centrally cast, casts of women. And those particular movies have to deal with friendship, about family or found family. There's heartache in those movies.
Yeah. You could say that this is almost like a children's version of Steel Magnolias. Like I'm not doing one for one comparison here, but this is definitely taking those adult centric movies of like female friendship. We watched Waiting to Exhale. Obviously, I would not pair this with Waiting to Exhale, but that's about 4 female friends and in their adulthood. And this movie is about, it is mostly centered on their childhood as a look back. But it's also about 4 female friends in their adulthood thinking about their childhood. That's like the caveat there. This is more of a child. I would say I would take a kid to see this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be going with my adult girlfriends to see this movie.
Yeah. And so when it comes to a movie like this, I wanted you to watch this. I was the one that said, I want Alyssa to watch this movie. I didn't let her choose. I just said, you're watching this movie. And mostly because, like, one, I'm a male.
Really?
A cis white male. And, like, I have my own thoughts about this movie. And I don't want to put this movie into, like, I know better than anybody else. Would this movie be that kind of thing? And so that's why I wanted to bring you on and bring you in and get your opinion on this. And it's great that you haven't watched it.
I will say, I think if I watched this as a child, I would have far different views of this movie. Than this, because I didn't walk in with the nostalgia of it like you did. So there's like a missing element in a way, which can be both a good thing and a bad thing.
Right. And I like I said, I wanted you to see it. And this is the problem, bringing somebody to watch any kind of movie that was a, movie made in the 80s, 90s, kids movie, and a person that's never seen it before. I have the same feelings whenever I watch, this is not a one-for-one comparison here, but like Labyrinth. I've always had a thing about you're either a Labyrinth kid or a Dark Crystal kid, and I was a Dark Crystal kid growing up. And then I watched Labyrinth, and I enjoyed that movie, but I didn't get to watch it under the same eyes as like a child would watch that movie. Instead, I'm sitting there kind of picking it apart or being like, oh, the puppetry's really cool in this movie. But David Bowie's just really creepy and not sexy, like maybe I don't even know, but that's what I'm thinking of whenever I always come to these. Like, if I were to make somebody watch The Goonies for the first time, would they actually like The Goonies?
You did that with me. I liked The Goonies.
I know. Oh, my bad.
But yeah, I didn't see The Goonies as a kid. I watched it as an adult. I was like, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't give it. I don't know if I'd give it a 5-star movie. Maybe a 4-star, but I know that's. I know a lot. If I said 4-star, a lot of people would have my head.
But the only reason it's a 5-star is because of being
nostalgia.
A kid. Yeah. So I don't know. And maybe if I knew somebody that had watched this, it would have been better to bring them on and you guys just talk about it, and I just sit here and say, "See you later." Like, I don't know. Maybe in my dreams, that's what I would love. Okay, we've talked a little bit. So let me give you some statistics, and I say the stats around this movie, but let me give you all the little facts before we jump in and start talking about it. So, movie is titled Now and Then. It came out October 20th, 1995. It is directed by Leslie Linka Glatter. She's mostly known for TV, very successful TV director and producer and writer, all of those things, mostly for the shows Mad Men and Homeland. She won an Emmy for an episode of Mad Men that she did, and then Homeland was kind of like a big deal for her too. This was also written by a woman, Ida Marlene King, or I. Marlene King. You would know her best as the showrunner of Pretty Little Liars.
The showrunner?
Yeah. So whenever I talk, like, they're the person that can't, like, basically it's their baby, and they choose like the directors for every episode and the writers and the story and how it goes. So like, that is Pretty Little Liars was her baby.
I have words for this woman.
I'd love to hear them, because I, Marlene King, is also a queer woman from a very small town in Indiana, which relates to Now and Then. So,
oh, fun! Okay, I see the connections here.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But Pretty Little Liars was a book series originally, and it's 4 books, only 4 books. The first episode of the first season is book 1. So we did an entire book in 1 episode, and then that show went on forever and went by the way of Supernatural, in the sense that shit got weird. And I loved that show. I ate that shit. Talk about a sleepover movie. Me and my friends ate that stuff up. Oh, we ate that stuff up. The ending was something, and I, again, especially from a queer woman's perspective, would love to know why they went in that direction.
The only reason I brought it up, because I know your love of Pretty Little Liars, and I found out that she was a queer woman and all this stuff, and I was like, oh, Alyssa would love to dive deeper into this. And
I have so many questions.
there are numerous like interviews and things with her about Pretty Little Liars out there, as I was kind of doing some research earlier.
Oh, I gotta find it then.
I encourage you to look those up and see what she has to say. Anyway, this movie has a cast that is kind of doing double duty on characters here. So I'm going to go through the child, and then I'll say the child actor, and then I will do the adult actor. So playing Roberta is Christina Ricci, and the adult version is Rosie O'Donnell. Playing Teeny or Tina is Thora Birch, and then Melanie Griffith. Playing Samantha is Gabby Hoffman and Demi Moore. And then finally, Chrissy, played by Ashley Aston Moore, and Rita Wilson as the adult version. Now, there are a lot of different, a lot more kind of cameos or short stints of other people that are pretty famous that are also in this movie. Most notably, Cloris Leachman is in this movie as the grandmother. Janine Garofalo has a little bit part in here as kind of a witchy woman. Hank Azaria as Bud. Bonnie Hunt as Chrissy's mother. Devon Sawa, hottie of the 90s. We will see again. He has a big 95. Him and Christina Ricci have a big 95 together. Walter Sparrow, probably most people might know him from the Robin Hood with Kevin Costner in it. He plays the blind old man in that movie. Brendan Fraser with an uncredited role here in this film, and then Lolita Davidovich as Samantha's mother. So some people that we've seen in movies, and some that we've seen already in 93 and 94, and we'll see again, I'm sure. The 90s are a hot time. Anyway, the synopsis for this movie is 3 strong women. This is such a weirdly written, so it starts out 3 strong women.
There's 4.
Roberta Martin, Samantha Albertson, and Tina Teeny Tercel return home to reunite with their childhood friend Chrissy DeWitt Williams and see her through the end of her first pregnancy. The 4 lifelong friends share their memories of the unforgettable summer of 1970, the summer their innocent younger selves grew up. This movie had a budget of $12 million and had a modest box office return of $37.5 million. It does not have a very high Rotten Tomatoes score, though. It is at a 36%, but the user ratings of IMDb and Letterboxd are much higher, 6.8 out of 10 and 3.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Roger Ebert did not like this movie. He gave it 2 out of 4 stars. He said, the adult actresses are completely superfluous to this movie, which is a contrived Stand By Me kind of story. Although the screenplay isn't much help, the 4 young actresses are wonderfully talented and would have been completely capable of filling the screen time without the guest appearances. In theory, we might be interested in seeing what kind of women the girls grew up to be. But the movie gives the adults so little screen time that it has to resort to shorthand, like using smoking as a cigarette trait. 2 out of 4 stars. Roger Ebert.
I think that's fair.
Now, Ann Cohen of Refinery 29, I struggled to find a positive review back in the day. So this one's a more current review. I'm posting a link in the chat. I don't often do this, but I'm the boss, so I post links here. And Ann Cohen said that delicate portrayal of that pivotal time in girls' lives, one still rarely seen on screen, is what has given Now and Then cult status among women of my generation over 20 years after its release. I only recently learned that the film was written, directed, and produced by women, which makes it that all the more resonant today. So she had a more positive review of it. And that's a really good, I like the review that I posted there. It's got some really good things in there. And also talks about like the absence of other demographics that aren't represented here, underrepresented demographics for girls or women and their coming of age stories and what are lacking there. So this is just one of those a piece of that. And she's just happy that it exists. And that it's representation. So there is very little legacy to this movie other than its cult status and like being praised over the last like 20 years. But there was a novelization of this movie, and I can either give you things that happen in the novelization now or after we talk. What do you want to do?
Let's do it in the fun facts.
Okay, let's do it in the fun facts. I love that.
Because I have some of those fun facts.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I love the novelization stuff. And I'm like, this is probably what should have been in the movie that I did feel certain things were lacking. Like you agreed kind of with Roger Ebert. I agree with Roger Ebert as well.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily it's not a negative review. It's because I was like, why does Roger Ebert not like it? And like the adults have like 5 minutes total.
It's crazy.
But the young girls are great. It could have been a movie just about young girls. Going more by the way of I will reveal one of my pairings here, The Sandlot. Like I would have loved, and it like the entire Sandlot movie is a flashback, even if you don't, because there's an adult narrator. Same way we have an adult narrator here. I would have loved a whole movie of children with like 30 seconds at the end, maybe of the adults.
Yeah.
And the way that the Sandlot is set up with the adult narration overlapping and thus revealing Demi Moore at the very end. But
yeah, and I think that the casting of the 4 individuals in the adult roles are something of the time, and like you don't cast those people you shouldn't cast those people if you're only going to put them on screen for five minutes or whatever, 10 minutes at a time. Rosie O'Donnell's probably at the top of her talent, like what she's doing. Demi Moore, same thing. She's coming off some really hot movies. Melanie Griffith is just Melanie Griffith. Like she was a queen of the 80s, but still a very, very popular actress at this time. And then Rita Wilson, also very popular at this time. Maybe not as popular as the other 3 in like leading moments, but honestly perfectly cast in this movie for the role that she's in. It's just interesting that they did that. It's almost like a stunt casting, but don't put them on the poster if it's going to be that. I don't know. It was.
I also felt the poster to be strange because I was under the assumption that there were 8 characters in this movie because they're all hanging out with their little selves. I didn't know. Like I was like, oh, okay, like mother-daughter movie. Nope, those they're just like hanging out with the younger versions of themselves in this poster. Like that is an incredibly misleading picture.
All right, let's talk about the movie a little bit. I know you've got some things you want to talk about and get off your chest, as do I. And I didn't. I just realized that I did not finish my notes, but that's okay.
No.
That's okay. We're gonna do it on the fly. We'll do it live. Let's talk about some of the best scenes in this movie, scenes that really stood out that make it more memorable. What do you got for us?
I'm not gonna lie. So I had a very hard time picking out standout scenes. This is very much a slice of life movie in a way that it was just like they like 3 days felt like an eternity in the movie, and to me, and I really only picked 3 scenes that are the ones that I really wanted to touch on. Then the first one is the first seance.
Yes, that's where I started.
Okay, good. I just think it's such a thing of the 90s specifically. Like I don't know about. I know that this is this takes place for the children the summer of 1970. I don't know what the witchery, what in the witchery was happening in the 70s for children specifically. But I feel like playing the game light as a feather and doing like seances at a sleepover or breaking out the Ouija board is a very 90s thing. And like the movie like Teen Witch it's an early 90s Disney movie. Like Teen Witch came to mind. Hocus Pocus. Like there's so many movies or even in any like slumber party movie, there's always a witchy kid or a witchy moment. And like I've played light as a feather at like sleepovers, but I was like, that's so interesting to me that this is a thing for little girls in the 70s too. And I'm like, we just all want to be witches. I'm like, I love that this is a universal thing, but it doesn't matter if you grew up in the 70s, the 90s, the aughts, everyone wants to dabble in witchery.
Girls never change,
Girls never change.
They just all want to be witches. Ask my niece.
Yes. She's, again, great, perfect example of someone from the tail end. No, she's Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha wanting to do little witchy stuff. But I think that has to do with fantasy and make-believe as well, the age that the girls are at. It's kind of spooky, but it's fun. They're trying to they're like, let's just call upon that guy. And it was like a 12-year-old who passed away a very long time ago. And they want to like, tell us how you died. And it gets spooky and they run away but it's like a bonding moment. They all sneak out of their house together to go. And it is very cute and fun. And it's a good way to kind of introduce their 4 little personalities.
Yeah. And one thing I like about this, and you see it often with movies that we have about boys. You see it in the movie, you've already mentioned The Sandlot, where you know that this group of people are friends, and you know that they're also friends because they're constantly messing with each other or making fun of each other, or and they still stick around. It's not, nothing is ever said with ill intent or anything like that. You can call somebody an idiot or a dumbass or whatever it is, and they're still your friends after. And so that also shows this, and shows that all four of them are capable of doing so. I mean, we get, I don't know if we get messing with somebody first, but we end up getting Chrissy messing with them at one point, which is kind of out of nowhere for what we expect of Chrissy in this movie. So I really like that. And that also is the scene where we get introduced to basically the plot of this movie, which is to find out who Dear Johnny is, or who Dear Johnny was, and what happened to Dear Johnny. And that is the loose plot we have of this. Other than that, it's very slice of life, like you said. And we have that very thin plot in there that really just drives the girls to find themselves and find who they are, and as things are happening to them behind all of this, like I said, very thin plot of the Dear Johnny investigation. So what do you got next?
I go all the way to Meeting the Soldier.
Okay, I'm a little bit of I put the swimming there.
Okay, which is right before that, right?
Yeah, right before that. Taking a swim, or taking a break on this 9-mile trip that seems like it's just the farthest trip ever. They
got little legs.
I mean, I get it. You're still going pretty fast on a bike. It'll take you an hour to get there. Tops. That's a WTF for me. They act like this is a Frodo traveling to Mordor to take the ring, and it is not.
And it's Indiana, so there's no hills.
It's not
flat.
Like it's not hard.
Yeah.
It is. You guys are going a little bit faster than, like, you could walk there in a half hour, or not a half hour, a couple hours.
You could do 9 miles in half an hour.
No, I meant a couple hours. You'd be there. You'd be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 hours tops if you're just walking casually.
I guess so.
Yeah, 3 hours, 3 miles an hour, whatever. I don't want to gripe on that too much, but yeah, taking the swim and getting pushed in. A lot kind of happens in this because they're all like diving in with their clothes on, and Roberta's doing her thing where she's always just being extra and jumping in, and then faking her death. And
not the first time she's faked her death, apparently.
No, not the first time. And then also finding the Wormers, who are supposed to be their little rivals.
Yeah. And seeing their balls.
Seeing their penises and balls, and stealing their clothes, and making them chase them down the road. I wrote that down just because this is like one of these scenes I remember from this movie.
Yes, it's giving that one scene from The Parent Trap. Just it's immediately what it made me think of. It's like, steal their clothes and go.
I forgot about that scene from The Parent Trap. Wow.
That was a very strange scene, but it is. It is fun. You learn a lot about Roberta and Chrissy's friendship specifically. And, we learn a little bit about Roberta's, her mom passing away. We knew she passed away, but she kind of dabbles with the idea of death as a kind of a coping mechanism. And it's a very interesting scene. There's a lot, because it's a very fun scene, and all of a sudden there's this very not fun situation happening, and then it goes right back to fun again with like messing with the boys.
Yeah.
So it is like kind of like these like glimpses of growing up amongst having fun with one another.
Right. And that's our first instance. You and I talked about this when we watched it, of like, I like that even though this is a group of the 4 girls and they're all friends, that there's always a friendship that is better within that group. And so this is our first instance of that. Chrissy and Roberta have that friendship together. And then later we see, Samantha and Teeny having that better friendship with them. So just a good example of that from the beginning. So,
Very good.
all right, talk about the soldier now.
So I say after I thought this was a very random scene. I understand that this is taking place in 1970. The Vietnam War is going on. And we just had to like throw it in, I guess, for the boomers. And because I think we could have gone without, I mean, he does give, so there's a soldier, Brendan Fraser, uncredited, who is hitchhiking down the road. The girls whiz past him on their bikes. They stop and take a smoke break with him. But he is, they're learning a little bit about him, that the war is not something that people are super happy about. And they're like, well, we're winning, right? And he's like, depends on what you mean by winning. And, he says, your parents aren't always right. And some of the girls agree, some of them don't. And he was like just imparting this sage wisdom on these young ladies. And then they drive off. And I think it was really interesting because, again, our main girl, all four of our girls are, but Samantha being our main girl, like her parents in the background are getting a divorce. So she really kind of latched on to what this young man was saying, and it left an impact on her. She, goes throughout the movie. But I thought it was kind of random.
It is weird, yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole point of it is to get that, that advice. We have a couple characters in this movie that will say that give Samantha specifically like sage advice. Samantha's our narrator anyway. The Demi Moore character is our narrator. Your parents aren't always right is the wisdom that he gives to these four girls. So
yes,
just what every parent wants their kid to hear when they're watching a movie.
The 12-year-old girls to hear from the 19-year-old man. I'm assuming that man is 19.
19, 20, 18.
18 at a minimum. Because, war. But it was wild.
Very strange scene. What is the next scene that you have?
I have Sam drowning.
Oh, okay. So I've got a couple in between. We get to that. And I've got the library scene where they finally get there. And really the only importance of this scene is once they get there, they are looking up microfiche or newspaper clippings from that would tell them about Dear Johnny and what happened. Come to find out, all those things have been ripped out. The main thing that we get from this, and I feel like this is like very Roberta-centric trip that they've been on here. Roberta finds out that her mom did not pass away in the way that her dad told her that she passed away. And she was actually in a head-on collision. She was in pain for hours, and ultimately she ended up passing away because of this car accident. That wasn't her fault. And it's just, again, it comes right after your parents aren't always right. And you feel for Roberta. She's very angry in that moment.
I would be.
But you're also like, I understand. Like, we don't. You don't know when, I guess, Roberta's mom passed away. I forget what they probably did say it in the movie.
It said when she was young.
Yeah. So like, what do you tell a child that is 4 or 5 years old about their mom that just passed away? Do you say, oh yeah, she was pinned in a car and couldn't, she felt everything for hours. Yeah. And it's like, no, an angel came down and took her away. You're an idiot 12-year-old that should have known this by this point. Like,
yeah, well, and this is probably her first instance with death, like understanding death, not knowing how death works. And you get, the older you get, the wiser you get. And I'm sure she knew that I'm sure she knew it was a car accident. I was under the impression that she was aware, like mom died in a car accident, but she didn't feel any pain. Which is something that adults tell themselves too. I'll give the dad some credit there. It's like, what do you say to a 5-year-old, first of all? But second of all, like maybe he has convinced himself that she didn't feel any pain. That is a brutal article to put in the paper.
Yeah, for real. Whoever wrote that article, woof.
And again, she's a teenager. There's a lot of angst there anyway. But
You're feeling your feelings.
She feels a little betrayed by her dad, and
Yeah.
it's a lot to kind of handle emotionally. She's also dealing with her changing body and this boy who likes her, who has been her enemy forever, and she's also definitely queer coded, and that doesn't end up being the ending. It's all she's got a lot going on. The poor thing.
Yeah. And that's why I don't. That's one of the things I'll talk about whenever we discuss, like, talking about, should this even be a movie, or should it be something entirely different?
I have it rewritten with a 2025. I have the 2025 version.
Yeah.
As if we were to remake this today, I have exactly what each girl was going to look like.
I have a version of this where it is a Hulu series or a Netflix series, and it is 8 episodes, and it is back and forth, like, or it's 4 episodes, and it's each girl, 30 minutes on the back then, and then 30 minutes on the now, and telling their stories interwoven with each other. That's how I'm telling this story, if I'm telling it. That way we get a little more time with the adults. We can expand on some of these ideas of, hey, everything that she just found out, and like you said, queer coded, and all these other things that go into it. And some of that is played with in the novelization a little bit better, but and the original screenplay had some of that as well. But I just think you just need more time. I just want more time with these people.
Yes, I think a series would do this justice.
Yeah. And then the other scene that I had is another very Roberta scene. And I think Roberta, I think Christina Ricci is the strongest, probably, actor of the 4 girls at this time. She's, coming off of both Addams Family, the first Addams Family movie. I don't know if the second one had come out, and she's kind of a popular child actor at this time. So, Thora Birch, we've seen her previously in some things. Gabby Hoffman is also certainly a child of the early 90s. And holds her own as the Samantha character. And honestly, the Ashley Aston Moore is just as good too. She holds her own very well. I can't wait to talk about our favorite characters or actors in this movie. So, so I said the attic, and this is where they truly find out what happens to Dear Johnny.
Is the attic? I thought the attic was at the very end, like right when they transition to, like, when they make the pact.
Isn't the attic when? Doesn't the attic go? The attic happens right after her grandma leaves the house.
You're right. Okay. I think I got some of the scenes mixed up. Because I thought, I apologize.
No, I think I'm still ahead of you.
Well, I had the attic as my last scene.
Oh, okay. I thought you only had 3 scenes. So.
Well, I added one in,
okay.
Which was
we can talk about the attic after. Let's talk about.
I'm so sorry.
No.
When do they? I don't know why in my head, like, I'm envisioning them making the pact, putting their hands in, and then it transitioning to them being adults. Is that not how it went? Was there scenes that happened after that? Or did they transition to adults after the cemetery?
It was I felt like the cemetery was the last scene.
That was probably the last scene. That makes more sense.
Even though they made the pact in the attic, I'm pretty sure the cemetery was the last, because they find out that article about Dear Johnny, and that they were killed, and then in the cemetery she finds out that Pete is the father of them.
Yes. Okay. So sorry. I got things.
You're good. But we know that Pete also saved. I don't remember when that happens.
So it happens. They bought the treehouse. They definitely have the treehouse. That was I don't know. I get them kind of mixed up. This is kind of the problem with a slice of life movie, is that plot. Oh, okay. I'm not crazy.
No, I just looked it up. So the Crazy Pete saving them happens right before the attic, because this is when she tells Teeny that her parents are getting divorced, and then they have their little friendship bracelet thing, and that's the whole reason for it. Because she tells the rest of the girls that her parents are getting divorced
in the attic.
You're right.
Okay. Okay. I see now. Here we go.
We're doing
So,
good.
but as I was still wrong because that there's still a whole thing with the cemetery afterwards. So, but yeah, that was I think that's just, again, Samantha's our main girl. That is a life, if we think about it, that's a life-changing moment, right? To almost die, and for Teenie to witness her best friend almost die. We do get saved by Crazy Pete, who the girls have been making fun of this entire time. This just poor old man who likes to ride his bike through the cemetery in the middle of the night while they're doing their seances. And I'm like, neither of you should be there. What are you going to say? You look like you're going to say something.
Oh, no, it's just that this is that trope. Again, this is a 90s thing, especially in kids' movies. We see it in Home Alone, like the creepy, or Home Alone, Home Alone 2. You have that creepy old character that, the children are often uneasy around, and then they end up saving the day. It happened Home Alone with the old man.
Happens in Hocus Pocus.
It does happen in Hocus
Well,
Pocus?
kind of. It's not a creepy old man. It's the zombie.
Oh, yeah. It's a similar trope, though. Creepy old person ends up a misunderstood creepy old person ends up saving the day. So that's Crazy Pete.
Crazy Pete. But yeah, I was like, is this girl about to die? And then I was like, no, wait, we saw her for the first 5 minutes of the movie. She's clearly not going to die.
Yeah, they're all alive.
But that was again, we said about the friendship defining moment. We know that Roberta and Chrissy are close. And we knew that Teenie and Sam are close, but I think this certainly brings them closer together. Sam reveals that her parents are getting a divorce.
And she has that in common with Teenie because Teenie's parents basically don't exist.
They're
that's
absent.
established. So she has parents that just aren't there.
Yep. They're like country club parents. They don't give a shit about her. They just, they're like, yeah, you're good on your own, and do whatever they want.
So she can relate probably the best to Samantha, and Samantha's about to be a single, parent household because she never talks about that again. He never pops back up, and her mom fully goes into the dating life and trying to bring in new people and all this stuff. So
yeah, and then the attic is what I have next. So because that's a big moment, again, finding out that Dear Johnny and his mom were murdered, finding out, and then Roberta again having a breakdown about death, and then Sam revealing that her parents are getting a divorce, and Chrissy saying, let's make a pact right here and right now that if any of us ever need one another, we'll be there. And hence, that's how we got to the plot of this movie, or the reason why the girls are all coming together again 25 years later, was because, and Chrissy is actually the one who calls upon them because she's about to have a baby in the adult Rita Wilson version of herself. But it explains why. It explains the why behind this entire summer is leading up to that moment of, a lot of this movie is about independence. They're growing up, becoming independent of one another, becoming your own person, your own personality, going off on your own path, but still having that core that no matter what happens, I got your back.
Yeah. And they even say it at the end of this movie, like they thought that summer would bring them closer together. The narration says the treehouse was supposed to bring us more independence, but what the summer actually brought us was independence from each other. So this is kind of the start of them having this very close summer together, and then all starting to branch out and become their own women and get away from each other a little bit and be who they end up being. So
yeah,
it's interesting. I don't know. So we have that last seance. Is that what we're ending on? The last seance?
Sure. No, yes, I just ended on the attic, but that makes sense.
Oh, the attic. Yeah, so they had that last seance to kind of put an end to the Dear Johnny thing. Come to find out, their spiritual practices did not break Dear Johnny's tombstone. It was actually a practical thing that happened. The guy with the tractor hit it, blah, blah, blah. Why they didn't know that the tractor hit it, I don't know. Because it happened that night, I was pretty sure.
Yeah, it happened in that moment.
Yeah. And
it kind of represents the growing up, no longer believing in seances or creepy things or make believe, pretend.
Yeah, I think they addressed that in that it was time to put the make believe behind or whatever. And then Samantha goes back into the graveyard after they've left, disappointed, and she finds out that Crazy Pete was the Pete Peter from Peter Still, I think is what his name is, something like that. He was the father of Dear Johnny and his wife, and just basically goes there all the time, only comes out at night because people think that he murdered his wife and child. He was actually just drinking down at the bar, and so he's got a lot of regret with that, and gives some wisdom to Samantha to pass on, and that she takes with her. I don't know if it's my favorite piece of wisdom. Like, it didn't feel very as profound as she made it seem in the movie, but for a 13-year-old girl, it might be the most important thing at that time. I can't even remember what it was. It just didn't. I can remember. Now it is. Things will happen in your life that you can't stop, but that's no reason to shut out the world. So it's
a don't end up like me.
Yeah.
Which, and for her, she had on her own revealed what was going on with her. But that entire movie, she is like, I'm not telling anybody. I'm embarrassed about my parents getting a divorce or what's going on in my home life and how I feel. And she kind of made her own conclusion before she got the advice. Like, it would have maybe made a little bit more sense story-wise if he gave her the advice and that's when she went to her friends and she's like, hey, I got to tell you something.
Yeah.
But
or if it had more impact on the adult version of her. We get so little of Samantha. I feel like we know that she's a writer, she's our narrator, but like we don't learn anything about her real life. Like Roger Ebert says, she smokes. And she's had a lot of bad relationships, I guess. Like, yeah, doesn't have a steady steady person in her life, whatever. That's it. And that's where I get disappointed with this movie. So anything else you want to add? I'm sorry, I talked over you.
No, you're good. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Was there a favorite character or a scene stealer in this movie?
I said Roberta. I think maybe I'm kind of partial to child Roberta. I am partial to the actress, but I kind of liked her storyline. I think it was maybe one of the more complex ones that, again, dealing with, we got the full picture with her. Like, I think Teenie kind of gets the shaft with this movie. Like, we don't get a lot of Teenie at all. And technically Sam is our main character, but I feel like Roberta has the most impactful storyline.
She definitely has the most stuff happen to her.
Yes. Chrissy is can be considered maybe a scene stealer just because she's like our little comic relief, and then Teenie gets nothing. Yeah. But I liked the Roberta storyline. I thought, again, there's so much, again, the highs, the lows, the dealing with death, the dealing with the changing, like puberty, and we got everything with Roberta. Yeah. So and just knowing that she becomes Rosie O'Donnell at the end is I'm like, they look alike. It was crazy. Yeah. But she was my favorite.
Yeah, I had both Roberta and Chrissy as my. I agree with you. I think Roberta is my favorite character in this. She gets the most to do. She gets the most storyline. She gets to kiss a boy. Chrissy probably gets a little bit more than we think she does. She's, she's the innocent one. She also gets shit on a lot for reasons that probably wouldn't fly nowadays. But she also does, get the funniest lines and is the most ridiculous when she's learning about sex, which I think is very funny.
Yeah, she thinks she's the most mature.
Yes.
But she is so sheltered.
I love it. I love when they're in the diner and they're doing the Cosmo quiz, and each one of them get a different result. And Teenie getting the one where she's like, I'm a sexual deviant. And I'm like, you're 13.
Like you're 12.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
We all have those people, right?
Well, again, it's puberty. I will say this movie definitely encapsulates the growing up as a female, as a white female experience. I can relate very heavily to, each of the four girls. It actually, I keep thinking of bad comparison, but Sex in the City. When you're like, oh, I'm a Samantha or I'm a Carrie. And I'm like, I want to be like, which one of these four girls are you? Because I'm a Chrissy. I am, unfortunately, to my core, a Chrissy.
And they honestly almost all match up to the Sex in the City character. It's the exact same crew. I mean, Samantha is our
Teenie.
Samantha. No,
Sex in the
Samantha-
City.
Samantha is Carrie.
Young Samantha is Carrie.
Chrissy is not Miranda.
The dark. Oh, what is her name?
Charlotte. Roberta is Miranda.
Yes.
And then Teeny is Samantha.
Samantha. Yes. They are. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
They really fall into some 90s tropes.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like, oh, all girls fall into these four phylums, but it's like I can certainly pick out pieces where I'm like, I get it.
Yeah. I wonder if you look back on any of the, like, even Pretty Little Liars or Glee or any of the shows that you grew up watching or anything, if you can be like, oh yes, it's that Sex in the City characterization of all of them. Do we have those common things where it's like, oh, here's a group of four girls. Oh yeah, I'm about to blow your mind.
Pretty Little Liars is very aligned too, which makes sense with the writer. But Spencer is the Miranda, and Shay Mitchell's character is the Roberta. Oh my God, dang it. Everything's recycled.
Everything is the same. There are no
Everyone's
original
Weezer.
ideas.
Have you ever seen those memes?
Yes.
Everything's Weezer. It's just like stupid Weezer, funny Weezer, thinks they're funny Weezer, British Weezer. Like
exactly. Quotes. As we we've already talked about a couple of them, but what are some quotes that stuck out to you?
I got a couple. I did have the Crazy Pete quote that things will happen in your life that you can't stop, but that's no reason to shut out the world. And I also have the Vietnam veteran saying, I'm going to tell you something I wish someone would have told me when I was your age. Your parents aren't always right. And Samantha goes, no shit. What? You give me one. We'll go back and forth.
Have you ever been French kissed? And Chrissy responds with, are you kidding? I don't want to get pregnant.
I had that one too. I had Chrissy say, if I don't eat every few hours, I get nauseous. And I'm like, same, Chrissy. I get you, girl. You and that pre-diabetic self, same. We're here.
Jesus.
She's so cute.
As we grow older, it becomes difficult to just believe. It's not that we don't want to, but too much has happened and we can't.
That was the narrator, right?
Yeah, Samantha says that.
I have one. Teeny's asking a truth or dare question. And she says, are you happy, to Samantha, as truth? Are you happy? And Samantha says, not really, but I figured that it's normal for things to be shitty.
I like that. Well, you deserved it, fart ass.
You deserved it, fart ass.
Fart ass. That's
insult.
probably that's my favorite line of the whole movie, I think.
Is that a Chrissy line?
No, Roberta says that to Chrissy.
Chrissy, you deserve it, fart ass. I have the quote from Chrissy's mom when Chrissy asks her mom about sex. And she says, all women have a garden, and a garden needs a big hose to water it, or a small hose, as long as it works. It's like...
Speaking of how big a wiener is, when the girls are talking about the boys as they're, skinny dipping, Chrissy's like, it's not very big. And Roberta says, it's only big when a guy gets a hard on. And then Teeny in the background says, and when that happens, they get this big. And I was like, oh God.
I'll say, Teeny needs to stop reading the Cosmos.
Yeah, geez, Louise. Anything else?
No, those were all I got.
Let's see. I'm sorry. This is the one I did the least. I just skipped over completely. It happens every once in a while.
The quotes?
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's okay. If you have any other quotes in the chat, please feel free to put those down. We'd love to hear from you. Biggest laugh, cry, scare, or thrill? I almost had one for every single thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I just had a cry. I didn't actually cry, but it was certainly a gut punch scene when in the attic, Roberta is having a kind of a meltdown in a way, but she says, he's all I have left and he lied to me about her dad. And I was like, oh, ooh, like
Damn,
she,
yeah.
like that quote, and that's of course when the girls again decide to make that pact. But I was like, shit, that was that for a 12-year-old to have that kind of. I'm crying right now. For a 12-year-old to have that realization, it's just like a gut punch. But there are a couple little laughs throughout, but I didn't like none that I like was like I gotta write this down.
I wrote down for a cry moment. I did not cry, but I was there. I was close. When Roberta fakes her death and Chrissy ends up punching her in the face, Roberta says, "Roberta, you're my best friend." And the way she delivers that line, I was like, "Oh my God." Like,
Little Chrissy did a great. Does she ever like become more of an actress? Did she do anything after this?
this is a very sad tale when we talk about when we talk about poor Chrissy.
Okay.
So we'll get there. Biggest laugh, not necessarily the biggest laugh, but it really made me chuckle because it happens twice. When Janine Garofalo's character calls them boys.
She's like, "Hello, boys." And they're
Hello,
like,
boys. Girls, yeah. My biggest scare, though, and I expressed this to you, and I've expressed this many times on maybe before, is when she goes down in that sewer drain and almost dies in that sewer drain. I had a fear when I was a child of drains because of several movies that involve drains and clowns coming from those drains and sewer drains and everything. And this movie did not help me with that, and it made things worse probably.
I immediately, as soon as I was like, nope, don't do it. She's gonna do it. Nope.
And I'm like, is that how sewer drains are? Can you just go down in there and stand? Like, I know
They're
people
not
can fit
that
in
big.
there. Well, I know, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, don't they just go to big pipes? Like, not just like some place, like a room down there where you just stand and can fill up with water. Like the water I don't know. I don't think that's how it works.
I haven't gone down into any sewer drains lately.
We'll do that next week.
Great.
Most what the fuck ridiculous moments for you.
I put smoking with the children.
I just put he's kind of, it's like it could be considered creepy.
Yeah, it was kind of like, again, there was nothing I was like, is something weird gonna happen? Again, you never know with a 90s movie. Some weird shit can happen. But yeah, he's like, yeah, do you girls want to smoke? And like they're like, sure. And the three, and except for of course Chrissy, because smoking stunts your growth. But I'm like, why? This is an adult man who is offering cigarettes to a 12-year-old. And I'm like, I don't know, different time.
Only the cool people, I guess, you know?
I mean, he's also a hitchhiker and a war veteran who probably has PTSD and is not in his right mind, but he's just like, who wants a cigarette? Like he's offering it to, his peers. And I'm like, yeah, let's just have a smoke break with the children. Like that. It was just, that was my what the fuck.
Attractive.
Oh, Brandon Fraser is a very handsome man.
Yeah. Still a little creepy. Just hanging out with 4 girls. Ripping cigs. Anything else?
That was my only like big one. Like there wasn't like a ton that were in this movie.
I just put little boy butts. Little boy butts.
A lot of little boy butts.
A lot of little boy butts out there. And then I also this one I stole kind of from you, which was having a baby in the treehouse at the end of the movie.
I forgot about that.
How did they get that baby up there?
Also, because it's Chrissy's baby. What we know about Chrissy, that baby is going nowhere near a treehouse, right? Yeah.
She has plastic on her furniture. Yeah, she's not taking that baby up there. And like, also that's a 25-year-old treehouse.
Yeah.
Is it okay?
No.
Who has done maintenance to keep that thing up to speed,
Yeah. It's also to fit 4 adult women.
Yeah.
They're all like with
it was
plenty
not
of space.
that big. I do not think that when Teenie and Samantha are in it, it's not that big.
No. It's just Hollywood magic, baby.
I guess it's bigger on the inside. I guess it's like the TARDIS. Best music moment or score moment. So
I had when the girls are riding their bikes, the knock 3 times. Did you have that as well?
Yeah.
Do you have the fun fact about that one?
No, I do have that about the soundtrack though.
Oh, okay. So the fun fact about the song "Knock Three Times" is that it came out in November of 1970, and this movie takes place in the summer of 1970. So the song, the girls would not have heard it because it hasn't been released yet.
Right.
So just a little bit of continuity issue there, but it is cute, and they're riding their bikes, and they're like, "No, three times," and they're like, "Dude." I'm like, "Oh, that looks so much fun, riding a bike and listening to music with my friends."
Yeah, that's another like one of those canon moments or for me. I knew that song, and I remember my parents had a 45 of that song, and I'd listen
Mhm.
to it on they had a giant record player bar thing. I'd listen to it because I thought it was a fun song.
It is a fun
Also,
song.
this is a good soundtrack full of 60s songs and songs from 1970. Soundtrack went gold this year.
Wow.
So
Very cool.
little 5295 music for you. All right, time for F Marry Kill.
How?
All right, you gotta give me suspend all things here. We're gonna go with the veteran,
Okay.
Crazy Pete,
Okay.
and you gotta work with me on this.
Okay.
Scott Wormer. Let's just pretend he's 18 and older. What did Scott Wormer end up being? Let's say that.
I'm killing Scott Wormer.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's a little shit of a kid. I mean, like, obviously he's a teenage boy, but and regardless of his performance in Casper and how I feel about him in the movie Casper, the Scott Wormer becomes a nuisance of an adult. So I am.
Do you think Scott Wormer stays in town? You think the Wormer, do you think he gets out of small town Indiana?
Well, I kind of wondered, it in the beginning we mentioned that, Roberta lives in sin with her boyfriend, and I was like, is that her boyfriend?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I was like, maybe it's her boyfriend. I don't know. Probably not, but maybe he does. They give the vibe. I mean, there's a ton of kids, a ton of boys, a ton of sons. It gives like stay in Indiana vibes.
Yeah.
So I'm killing him. Also, he's a child. But
You kill children?
I am effing Brendan Fraser. That is a no-brainer. I'm also not marrying him because he's
got PTSD.
He's got PT. I can't. I have no interest in dating anybody from the military. Been there, done that. Not a fan. And I am marrying Pete because that's the right thing to do.
He's a good man, Savannah.
He's a good man, Savannah.
Okay, I understand. Scott Wormer's the only one that doesn't have probably a mental illness.
He's 12. We won't find out if he has mental illness until he's older.
I said he's not 12. I tried. I wanted to come up with something better, and I couldn't.
It's a hard one. I was kind of hoping we would just skip Fuck, Marry, Kill.
No.
And then but instead do like a Witcher, I'm a Samantha, I'm a Carrie, I'm a Miranda. Like,
who do you think I am?
I think you're Samantha.
Like the Samantha.
Child Samantha.
Oh,
Child
not
Sam.
Samantha from Sex in the City?
No, I think you're Child Samantha.
I'm
because
Samantha. I like
she has a big imagination. She likes sci-fi. She's a writer. Has a dark side. I think that's kind of you.
Yeah, me. I'm a dark side kind of guy.
Yes. And I have a stick up my ass. So I am definitely Chrissy. I know who I am. Okay.
Who do you think gave the standout performance?
Little Chrissy.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? She did. All the little girls did a great job. All four of them were incredible. They played their parts so well. I believe them. I believe that little girl who played Chrissy is Chrissy with her little pigtails. But that was who I thought was the best performance. Because I think it's easier to play the straight man. It's
Yeah.
much harder to have a bigger or weirder or different kind of personality. She had to be the comic relief. She has to be, the Debbie Downer, or, kind of, the sheltered. Like, there's so many like little pieces of her personality. I think we get her. She has the most personality out of anybody. Of course, Roberta's a close second, but
Yeah.
I think that little actress did the best job.
I agree. I think Chrissy's amazing. I put the children were the best part of this whole thing, but yeah, shout out to Ashley Aston Moore, because yes, she has to be the girl with the stick up her ass, but she also has the best like comic timing of any of them. There are some things that she says like just out of nowhere that I think are so like just the way she did, like whenever I know it's terrible that they were like just fat shaming this girl who's not fat at all. Even though and Teeny calls her fat and she's like, I'm not fat. Am I fat? Like the way she delivers that second line right after, I was like, oh my God, you're so good. And I wish she would have had like a better, like a career after. Sadly, she did not. So we'll get into that here in a second. All right. Now it's time for our recasting.
Okay.
95 recast or 2025 recast. Did you do 95?
Nope, never.
I
don't know anybody in 95, so I can't help it.
I just thought of people that we've seen or in child roles like this. Honestly, there's a lot of like basically just the same people. Like they could play, like Kirsten Dunst was considered for this movie. Claire Danes might be a good one at this time for this movie. Natalie Portman, another person that was very young at this time, could be in it. Anna Klumsky, who comes from My Girl, could be in this movie. She actually is in a movie later this year in 95 with Christina Ricci and Chrissy's character, Ashley Aston Moore. And then Megan Good. I was like, hey, we're missing a complete experience of some other people in America. Megan Good, tell the story of what a Black child is like growing up in 1970. And it would be interesting because, one, it takes place in the Midwest. And
right. And that too, to speak to that, like, I agree. There is no diversity in this movie. We are severely lacking in diversity.
And it does take place in a suburb. And I mean, that's what suburbs were white flight. Like,
yes. However, if it is like, again, is the writer and are the writers and directors white? Because I do not want the Black experience from a white perspective.
Right.
I also, I'm like, in 1970, how many mixed neighborhoods do we have? I mean, obviously segregation has been, I don't say legally it's not supposed to happen, but we see segregation in 2025, even if it's systematic. So I would, to throw, a person of color into the movie for the sake of it, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think you're doing it just for the sake of it, but there's an opportunity to tell the story there.
I agree. I think it's maybe just a different story.
Because I don't want Megan Good to be in this movie just to be like to have Chrissy's storyline.
Yes, exactly.
I would be a different storyline, but
yeah. It would be a completely different thing.
But I was like, who are our, at this time, who are our Black actors that are actresses that are doing that are working at this time? And I searched forever, like finding people of color, any people of color during this time. And we'll get a little diversity later this year when we talk about movies like the Babysitter's Club.
How old is Raven Simone at this time?
She's young. She's my age, so she would have been probably a little too young for this. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I was like, I don't know when the Cosby Show was airing, but she was a damn cute child.
Yeah. And like Tatiana M. Ali from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, she might have been around this age too. Might have been a good choice for that. The girl from Crooklyn, what we watched last year. But really, like, yeah, any person of color is just it's not happening in the 90s for them, like in a movie like this. But I do think, like, if you rewrite the script a little bit, change some things, you could have a really interesting element and actually cover some more serious topics than fat shaming a girl.
Yes.
All right, 2025.
Okay, so my 2025 recast does come with a rewrite. It starts with Samantha. Samantha is either played by Anna Kendrick or Dakota Johnson.
Oh, I had Dakota Johnson in another role.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love Anna Kendrick, but I kind of was like, who can do like the dark, and I only recasted the adults, by the way. I did not cast the children.
Same.
So Samantha is played by either Anna Kendrick or Dakota Johnson. Samantha writes Monster Smut that's being made into a movie that stars Teenie. She switched from smoking to vaping recently because she's trying to cut back. Then we've got Teenie. Teenie is played by Margot Robbie. She is an influencer turned podcast host. Like, that's a sex positive, talks about the dating scene in LA. So influencer turned podcast host turned to being in her first movie, which is going to be Samantha's movie.
Mm-hmm.
Chrissy. I'll do Chrissy last. Roberta is played by Kristen Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
Roberta is queer and lives with their non-binary partner in their small hometown. They organize the local pride events and host a book club that reads Sam's books. And finally, Chrissy is played by Brittany Snow. Chrissy is fiscally conservative but socially liberal, really into the trad wife trend, and sells essential oils. She continues to refer to Roberta's partner as he, and when corrected, switches it to it, but she's trying.
She's trying, guys.
She doesn't use they, them, she uses it. But she's trying.
Wow, I love this. I and like little elements of yours I really like for some of my stuff too. So because of Teenie and her mother Melanie Griffith is Dakota Johnson's mom. So I'm putting Dakota Johnson in that role. I think it's the most boring role of the four. Mm-hmm. And so Dakota Johnson being the most boring person that for whatever reason I love.
Well, that's kind of why I put her as Samantha. Like, not that Samantha's boring, but she is kind of like here. Mm-hmm. And that's why I put her there. I also just was like, I needed a hot blonde to be Teenie. Yeah. And Margot Robbie did it.
Yeah, I like that. Dakota Johnson is blonde. She just dyes her hair.
I didn't know that.
So in Samantha, I beefed up Samantha. I was like, I gotta put somebody better in there. I thought it would be fun, Margaret Qualley, to put her in Samantha because of the Demi Moore, the Substance thing. Mm-hmm. That was really just my toying with the casting there. I really want Zoe Kravitz in this role.
Okay.
Bisexual writer, so that's a part of her thing.
Oh yeah,
she's definitely bi. And
Teenie and Samantha have definitely made out.
Yes, it is very much a Mel. It is Scary Spice and Ginger Spice. That's what it's giving me. They've definitely hooked up, and that's been fun. I was really proud of my Roberta because I do think that this is, and you might not, but one of the girls from Broad City, Abby Jacobson, is Roberta.
Okay.
So not the other way. Abby Jacobson is
Alana's the other.
Not Alana. Not Alana.
The other girl.
The other girl is Roberta, like to a T. Like,
okay,
that is Roberta. That is that character grown up. Not only is Abby Jacobson queer, she is also, she did the League of Their Own series a couple years back on Amazon. Like, she's perfect for that role. And I like everything that you did with Roberta's character. Throw her in there. I think Abby Jacobson would be great. Mm-hmm. For Chrissy, I want that storyline to be changed. I think you could still add in some elements there of the original Chrissy storyline, but I'm thinking this is also another opportunity for us to put a different lived experience in here. And I'm thinking, like, if this is now, and then we're like in the 90s, right? Or 25 years ago, we're like late 90s or whatever. Like, Quinta Brunson.
Oh, I love Quinta.
Just because of like her character on Abbott Elementary is like the goody two shoes. Like, I think she could really nail that. Also, Brenda Song.
I love it. I had a moment where I was like, how can I get Brenda Song in this movie?
I like her as Chrissy. So Quinta or Brenda Song as Chrissy. And I'm like, we get some different lived experiences here. We could do a thing where Brenda Song, like, I know this is not a typical thing, but like, it is that experience of being an Asian an Asian woman with 2 white parents and coming from that.
Oh yeah,
And
that
living
would
in the suburbs, and it would
And
line
that-
up, and I
that
could keep
makes
you,
sense.
and you could keep her as a libertarian, because it would make even more a libertarian Brenda Song.
Oh my god! I said, like it's so fun. Like Chrissy is. I've met a Chris. I've met so many Chrissies.
But I think they like with some of the stuff that you were talking about, it just makes them so much more interesting. And not only that, like you gave stories and life to them after they were children. The children's stories are, fleshed out.
We didn't get it right.
Yeah.
And I can't give the kids stories. Like, I mean, I thought, there's so much out there that does, like we can't, I mean, you want to talk about the millennial experience of a female or a white female growing up in the 90s. I got you. Like that is, and I have a book to recommend for that thing specifically as well, that, it's called One in a Millennial, and it is an excellent book. And I'm like, this is me to a core, but it also acknowledges like, hey, this is just one person's perspective, coming from this kind of person's perspective. But I wish there was more to the adults. And that's why I was like, because I know, like, again, and I will probably get into it when we get to the fun facts, but like Roberta is not living with her boyfriend. Okay.
Right,
I also,
right.
she's a dog, she's an OB. How did we get there? Like, where did that come from? What is Chrissy's job? We know that Samantha's a writer. Teeny is an actress or model. She's on the cover of People. Roberta's a doctor. Is Chrissy a housewife? Like, we don't know.
Yeah. Chrissy, I think that's her thing. Her husband's a doctor, right? Or a dentist.
Yeah, I think
that's what Morton is, a dentist.
Morton.
And we miss out on the more Morton details that we get in some of these fun facts. So, all right, let's move over into the fun fact. I think that was a good recast. I really enjoy. I'm glad what you did with that. I thought that was
Thank you.
So call us. We're going to rewrite now and then. We are going to make it into a series though, and
Netflix. If you're out there,
call us. I'll get on the phone with them. All right, fun facts. What do you got?
So in the scene where Chrissy punches Roberta in the face for pretending to drown, Christina Ricci forgot to turn her head and ended up getting punched in the face full force. They had to stop production for a couple days because she was so badly bruised.
Oh, it's crazy. I had that written down as well. Wow.
She's got a mean right hook.
Just freaking kills her then. Just Chrissy's packing too. Yeah. So
do you want me to just keep going?
Yep. Keep on going.
I had that Kirsten Dunst was offered the role of Chrissy, but refused to gain weight for the role. Direct quote, "It wasn't worth ruining my figure."
How insane to ask a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old or anybody, but to ask somebody who is a minor to gain weight for a role is insane.
Yeah. And welcome to the 90s, man. I mean, I know that it's crazy because watching this movie, I understand that the children are in 1970. But it isn't like, I don't know what the childhood of someone who grew up in 1970 was, but I'm like, this is a 90s movie. You could copy paste everything that happened when those girls were kids into the 90s. It would look identical, minus the Vietnam veteran. That's a Desert Storm guy. But like, just genuinely, like there were and like the fat phobia has always been.
You should watch it. You should watch this with your mom. I mean, that would have been she would have been around that age.
My mom would have been 5.
Oh, well, maybe still lived experience.
That's true. She can, she had older siblings, they're brothers, but there's maybe something there. Rosie O'Donnell has stated that the character of Roberta was supposed to be a lesbian, but the film was later edited and she was made to be straight. Shocking, the 90s. The line, "Roberta lives in sin with her boyfriend," was looped in at the last minute, and Rosie O'Donnell came out as lesbian herself 7 years later.
Wow, yeah. Crazy that it was such a last minute thing. Like it could have been nothing.
And it's so, I mean, again, it just kind of speaks to the time that people, they were either queer coded or they just weren't, but they ended up, they didn't have an ending that you would expect. Like, I was like, her boyfriend, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I love like the Roberta, and that's why I ended up like saying like Roberta's partner's not, but like and there everyone has different experience. Every woman or person who grows up with boobs has a different experience with their boobs. But like her binding herself like with duct tape. What? Oh, do you have a
No, keep going.
Oh, that first of all, painful. Don't know why they did that to her or made the actress do that. But second of all, I'm like, that is an experience that a lot of young women do have. Like, not everyone is like ready to embrace. But I was like, this is maybe a person who is dealing with body issues, who maybe does end up identifying as non-binary, or like that can be a completely different storyline, because that's not every experience. But sorry, where are you going with that?
Well, you're going to get a little bit of vulnerable Cody here. In 7th grade, as Cody is growing up, he is a little fat, chubby kid, and he hates his boobs very much, and gets the idea from this movie to duct tape his chest down.
Oh no.
I remember the shirt. I remember the shirt I was wearing too. Well, I always wore my undershirts, because that's, my version of a safety blanket here, or a bra for myself. So I taped it over that. I remember the shirt I was wearing vividly. It was a Monty Python shirt, but I remember that morning duct taping I was like, let me see how this looks. This has got to be better than these nips nipping.
Oh, I am so sorry.
It's all right. But I did get this movie. I did get the idea from this movie, so
that's insane. I mean, like that again, influencing
body issues. Body issues.
The 90s were wild. This is a complete side tangent. But like I had two friends and we were in high school at this point, right? But like we were hanging out at one of their pools, and I had one friend who was relatively flat chested and one friend who was like double D's. And the flat chested one looks at the one who is not, and she goes, "Can I just touch these? I'm never gonna have these." It just goes like bongos on her chest. And we're like laughing, crying. It was so funny. But I was like, like talking about boobs is the female experience, like especially growing up. Like you have one person who's just flat chested, one person who wants bigger boobs, one person has big boobs who wants them to be smaller. And she just goes, we're idiots. I have one more fun fact.
All right, what is it?
And I'm sure you probably have the same one. So scenes in which the girls ran a carnival to raise money for their clubhouse were cut from the film. Which I thought was interesting, because again, in the film, they just randomly have a bunch of money, and it doesn't show how they got it, like if they had summer jobs or anything like that. But the scene involves Samantha with a fortune-telling booth and telling the geeky boy with glasses, Morton, that he will one day marry Chrissy. This is why, later in the movie, during the baseball game, the boy attempts to speak to her. He says, "Hello, dear," with uninterested Chrissy. And we see Samantha whisper something to Teenie. They giggle. So Sam is like telling Teenie what happened at the carnival, and Chrissy does indeed end up marrying Morton. So it was just funny. I was like, dang, I love that.
Yeah, just gives us a little bit of backstory on the whole Morton situation and how that all happened. I'll jump on top of that and say some other things from the novelization. In the novel, Samantha's emotional struggles surrounding her parents' divorce are explored in more detail, such as her resentment toward her mother for quickly dating after separation. This also gives us more context about the Vietnam War and the impact on the girls' lives. It's that scene with Brendan Fraser is actually expanded upon in the book. So gives them a little bit more time there. They say they have more intimate conversations about their future, friendships, fears in the treehouse than in the film. There's a playful kiss between Teenie and Scott Wormer.
Teenie.
A little drama there. Maybe Roberta sees Teenie kissing them and like,
ooh,
maybe Roberta likes Teenie, and we got some things there. The book does include more into Chrissy's life and struggles, particularly her desire to fit in and challenges with her body issues, so our body image. The novel also offers additional scenes that explore the history of the fictional town of Shelby, such as the girls' visits to the local cemetery. It's more detailed in the book, gives them town's past, local events, fallout from the Vietnam War, and why that community is the way it is. And then finally, the adult women's reflections on their childhood and current lives are more fleshed out in the novelization. So gives their thoughts on friendships, how their relationships have changed over time, and how that summer spent together shaped their lives. So we do get a little bit more from the adults in the movie. So
That's good.
that is there. And then another fun fact before I get into our sad fact. Every time the girls play Truth or Dare, they choose Truth. None of them ever choose
Yeah.
Dare.
I noticed that. No one
Yeah.
wants to take a dare.
No one knows. The fun people want to take dares.
I'm not fun.
After filming of her final film, Juno, on December 10th, 2007, Ashley Aston Moore Pat died from an accidental drug overdose at the age of 26 in Richmond, British Columbia, Canada.
She was in Juno?
I don't think it's the same Juno.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
very sad.
Yeah. It's a bummer. I knew that one. I think that there was like a 20-year thing when this came out, and I think that's how I knew that she had passed away before this. So very sad. Very sad. And I'm pretty sure it's not Juno. Yeah, it's not Juno. So it's not even listed on her IMDb. Her last thing listed on IMDb is 1997. So who knows? All right. Like a Fine Wine and Dish, if you could pair this movie with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose?
Oh, sorry. I was like, did I send? Sorry, I couldn't find my notes. So I have one. I'll go from makes the most sense to Unhinged. The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
I didn't put it on here because of
You knew I would.
Yeah.
It is the entire time I'm watching it, I'm like, this is the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. That is that is a slumber party movie. It's again 4 girls, probably the same type of, just kind of the same tropes.
Can we do the same thing here?
The Lena character is the Chrissy. The Blake Lively is maybe they're a little different. Blake Lively's probably the Roberta. Chrissy is America Ferrera. And Samantha is
Alexis Bledel.
Thank you, Alexis Bledel's character. No, not Alexis Bledel.
Oh, the other one.
The other one. The one who's
Joan of Arcadia.
Yes, the emo one. Yeah, that's forward for it, but I was like, 4 very different personality friends come together, and I believe it is like a summer book because the premise of the book is it's like their first summer they're going to spend apart, and they magically come across this pair of pants that fits all 4 of them, even though they have 4 very different body types. So whenever like the one girl goes to Greece and the one girl goes to summer camp and the one girl stays home and works and the other has to go visit her mom because her parents got divorced, they send the pairs of pants to each other to kind of remember that. So it's like about growing up, summer. It takes place during the summer. All of the books in the series are from June to August. So I think it's a perfect pairing, just modern version of it. I also said How to Make an American Quilt. Throwback from a few months ago when that was part of our extra credit series. Again, just kind of the flashback of it all, women's stories, that the memories of it all. It just kind of, it reminded me of that in a way. I like this one a lot better than How to Make an American Quilt. I had already mentioned The Sandlot. I also said Hocus Pocus and Casper, because Casper being, again, we see Christina Ricci and the Wormer Kid.
And a dead mom.
And a dead mom. Also spooky stuff, like a seance. Hocus Pocus, spooky stuff, plus the teeny girl. I also, here's my not unhinged, but I have the Powerpuff Girls versus the Rowdy Rough Boys, which made me giggle because I was like, oh, that's an episode of, and a recurring characters, but an episode of Powerpuff Girls where they have the Rowdy Rough Boys and they defeat them by giving them a kiss.
Incredible.
So you're welcome. I also, there's a book that I already mentioned One in a Millennial, but this is a millennial staple for, again, childhood, girls, puberty, growing up. It is an American Girl book called The Care and Keeping of You. And it is every millennial girl, any girl who grew up in the 90s knows what this book is. And it is, it's kind of like I want to say a puberty book for girls, being like, hey, your body's about to go through some changes. Here are diagrams. Like, here are pictures. And it was like, again, it's a children's book. It was written for teenagers. It's a book that, again, every person I know in my life knows this book, who grew up around the same time that I did. And it just gave me those kind of vibes. I'm like, the pairing there was, that's for me. That one's for me. My bad.
That's for you. I love that. I think there's a sequel to it.
The Care and Keeping of You.
Yeah, I think there's a Care and Keeping of You too.
Yes, because they updated it.
Good for them. They also have a guy one.
Yes, that one came out later.
How cute. I love it.
I'm like, that is something that I want to like give, if they update it, again, give to a child of mine, being like, hey, if you have questions that you do not want to ask your parent, here is a reliable source.
Yeah.
Here is a like factual, scientific, like source.
Anything else?
No, those are all my insane pairings.
I love that. I love the movies. I love that you put some books in there as well. So check those out. Or if you have questions about them, ask Alyssa in the Discord. She'll be happy to.
Yeah, I don't recommend reading The Care and Keeping of You.
I mean, for you, but like it's a pair. Yeah, I get it. But like that other book, if you're interested, One in a Millennial, she can send you the link if you're forgetting. I went pretty standard, and I'm also a boy, and so these are like The Sandlot is very boy coded of this. Stand By Me, which Roger Ebert mentioned in his review, is a very similar movie, just with 4 boys and very similar characterizations of them. They even have the one that they make fun of for being fat and has a stick up his ass. That's played by Jerry O'Connell, hilariously. And I think it pairs really nicely with this. It also has like a darker undertone, and they go on a journey to find a body. Like this kid goes missing, and they're looking for the dead body. And that's the whole point of the movie. And they have these like little instances that happen along the way that are funny or serious or any of those. So Stand By Me is the one that perfectly goes with this. We also watched a movie last year called The War that takes place around this time in like Vietnam. It deals with a dad who has PTSD, but the main thing that I want to say is like this family has a like feud with another family in that movie. Elijah Wood is the main character of that movie. So young Elijah Wood. It is another one that I also think goes along with this. Mostly because of like the flashbacks. There is an adult section of it, and then there's the children's section of it, and there's that flashing back. And honestly, I think that what it does is what Now and Then should do. Take out the scary clown, even though there is a scene with a drain and a guy standing in there would be, creepy. So I think it pairs with this. Also, My Girl, I think also kind of pairs with this too. It's kind of around the same time. Now it's the, story of a girl growing up and, going through puberty and having new feelings and, having this friendship and all these good things. My Girl pairs perfectly with this as well. So. All right. On a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to rewatch this movie?
Set a 2. I don't think, though I enjoyed it a lot, I don't know if I want to rewatch it.
You just want to remake it.
Yes, honestly, like if Netflix comes out with a series or a redoing of this movie, I'm in. But I think I'm good. I mean, if someone was like, "Can we watch this?" I'd be like, "Sure, let's watch it." I don't care. It is very cute, but I think I got the gist.
I said a 3, and that's probably just for nostalgia reasons. And like I said, I remember some of these scenes very vividly growing up. So it sticks out to me. Out of 5 stars, what did you give it overall, I guess?
So I went back and forth. My initial thought was a 4-star. I was like, I think this is a great little snapshot of the female, like the girl growing up experience. I think it's fun. I think I like the 4 different personalities. The plot's kind of loose, but I think it gave me like warm fuzzies. It gave me a warm fuzzy hug feeling. But the more I think about it, I think I just want to give it a 3.5. I think there are, like we've pointed out, there's a lot of things that we would like to change. And even though I enjoyed it, I did like genuinely personally enjoy it. I don't know if it's like a full, like I want to rewatch a 4-star movie.
Yeah.
For me, the rewatchability does factor into my overall score.
So, yeah, I agree mostly with the Roger Ebert review, your review. I gave it a 3, very middle of the road, maybe slightly better, and I could rewatch it. Like I said, I have that nostalgia factor to it, but I do think like those big things about like what's the point of the adults at all if they're going to be in here, and it kind of takes away. And if we're going to make this just about the girls growing up, let's make it all about the girls growing up. I don't mind having a narrator, that's fine. Stand By Me does that. Sandlot does that, you're right. But we don't focus on the now of them. It should just be the then. Let's just call it then. Then. Well, thank you, Alyssa, for joining us this week, and I'm sure we'll see you later this month as well. But before we wrap up, do you have any recommendations? It could be a movie recommendation, it could be a music recommendation, it could be anything.
I don't. I haven't watched. I said I was on not that long ago with GoldenEye. This is the only other movie I've seen since GoldenEye. I'm still on my YouTube game. If anyone wants to watch something stupid and also likes improv, I do recommend watching the Try Guys on YouTube. That's what I've been watching. They are funny, and that's really the only like recommendation. Oh, and so YouTube is the Try Guys. They're fun. A lot of silly improv stuff. If you are not a listener of 52/music, we covered Tupac last week, and apparently I'm a huge Tupac fan. So that's news to me. I never listened to Tupac until last week. So I do recommend listening to Tupac if you haven't before.
It's her second 5-star of the year. It
is. Tupac and Alanis are the 2 5-star albums for me on 1995.
I love it. I love that so much. I really don't have much either. I really just rewatched a bunch of stuff lately. I watched The Great Outdoors, which is a good summer movie. It's a movie I grew up watching. It's just about 2 dads taking their kids out in the middle, camping or in out to a cabin on a lake and all this, and just kind of having fun with John Candy, Dan Aykroyd. It's not the greatest movie of all time, but I like it. Zoolander, I watched this week too. Love Zoolander, so funny. I can also recommend Try Guys. Also a Minecraft movie I watched recently, and I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It's not great, but I had fun. I'd rewatch it. Like, it's dumb, but I loved it. Somebody in chat says After Sun is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. That got a couple, got some acclaim 2 years ago, I think, at the Academy Awards, and a lot of people thought that was the best picture of that year. So, yeah, I haven't seen it. It's on my list. It's on my watch list. I'm not ready for The Hurt. I think that movie will cost. So that's why I keep putting it off. Zoolander is 5 out of 5. So good. I love that. Other than that, if you want more recommendations, or if you want to give us more recommendations, we love to hear from you. And you can do that by joining our Discord server. You're also welcome to follow us on Instagram. That's usually where we will post our dates and times that we do these things, including our 52/1995 music podcast that we do. You can also find other links. Check out my account on Letterboxd, add me on there. You can see all of the lists that we have of upcoming movies for the rest of the year. Next Sunday, July 13th, we start a new theme, we continue this theme of coming of age, where all the movies involve growing up. And this one's kind of our kind of serious take into this month, where we started off a little light and serious. But this one's a little bit more serious. So this one's called Dangerous Minds. If you haven't seen that, it stars Michelle Pfeiffer as a teacher. It might be one of those white savior movies, but we're watching it. It was a very important thing. Had a big soundtrack come out this year. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And if you're following along with our extra credit theme, we're doing Just for Kids this month, where our 4 films are all children's movies from this time that didn't quite make the cut. That is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, The Big Green, Tall Tale, and A Kid in King Arthur's Court. Most of those can be seen on Disney Plus. So check those out. That podcast will be Wednesday, July 30th at 6 p.m. And then, as Alyssa was talking about, we are in Hip Hop Month at 52/1995 Music. Join us Tuesday at 6 p.m. for that, and look out. And this week's album is Liquid Swords by Jizza Genius, or The Genius, whatever he likes to be called. So listen to that and join us this Tuesday for that. But other than that, thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you for all the likes, support, chatters, everything, subscriptions. You guys are the best. We'll see you next time here on 52/1995.
What a year, what a time. Big screens, dreams, a movie rewind. From talking toys to heists gone wrong, we're watching it live and singing along. 52/1995. Grab some snacks, we're going live. Action, drama, comedy gold. We're reliving the stories told.
One movie a week, all year long. Let's roll the tape.